Hi and welcome to the Geek Legion of Doom. This is a TV review and I'll be having a look at the pilot episode of a new series called Bitten. So Bitten is actually based on a series of novels, and I've actually read the first novel a long time ago, admittedly. And basically it's kind of a werewolf-centric series, or books. And it's kind of this kind of TV pilot really setting this series up to be in the same vein as kind of like the Vampire Diaries and that kind of thing. The story really focuses on a character played by Laura Vandervoort, who you may know from, I think she was in V, the remake V, and also she was Supergirl in Smallville. And she plays a character called Elena, who is, if I remember correctly from the books, she's like the only female werewolf. This wasn't actually explained in the pilot, but she's either the only female werewolf, or there's very, very few of them. I can't remember exactly, and that's kind of the premise. And all the other werewolves certainly in this pilot are male. And essentially she's kind of wants to sort of get away from her sort of werewolf heritage and sort of has moved to a new city to sort of start a new life, where she's of course with an attractive rich boyfriend and everything, and she's called back to her kind of old family, adopted family ultimately. There's got a pack of werewolves when there's been a kind of murder of this young girl by this other kind of random werewolf that they call a mutt. Add to that, you've also got this kind of strange guy who seems to be sort of snooping around, he may or may not be this mutt. We don't actually know, though he seems to be a different place, so that could be an entirely different thread. And there appears to be some kind of history involved in regards to Elena's past with certain members of her pack. So this obviously pilot is really just setting up this kind of mythology, ultimately, ready to kind of sort of try and sort of encourage people to obviously watch future episodes. So what's it like? Well, a couple of good things. First of all, I didn't think the effects were too bad, I have to say, for a TV budget. In regards to kind of what the werewolves look like, because there's obviously lots of differences when we see different werewolves in different films and TV. They kind of just look like wolves, basically. So they've got in the kind of more, they kind of look just regular wolves. Elena's one is kind of like a very sort of light-haired wolf, ultimately. And to try and make it look a bit less horrific, say if you look at things like Being Human, for example, they kind of look a lot more monstrous. Now, obviously, this is obviously designed to kind of fall into the same sort of demographic that kind of watches sort of Vampire Diaries. They don't really want to see horror as such. It's kind of more, this is the impression that I get. This is why it's kind of being sort of like this anyway. To be fair, I think it's more or less what the books were like as well. But I didn't think the effects were too bad. The wolf transformations I thought were okay. They kind of used sort of CGI and obviously the wolves themselves. I actually have to say the effects weren't too bad. The cast is very much what you'd expect from this kind of show, sort of like a primetime show. They're all obviously very, very attractive. I mean, Laura Vandervoort's been in a lot of sort of genre stuff, so she might have a sort of certain fan base. I didn't think she was, I don't think she was too bad. But the main issue I have with this particular pilot, at least, is the script is absolutely terrible, and the dialogue is literally cringeworthy. Some of the stuff they say is so kind of ridiculous and this unnatural, and just very much it sounds like it's written for the lowest common denominator. I get the impression that a show like this, for example, is made by almost committee. What's going to appeal to the kind of like hitting these sort of very sort of cliche things and stuff like that. She's got the kind of the bad boy ex-boyfriend who's kind of very gruff and kind of almost Wolverine-like, I have to say, and this sort of new guy who's totally understanding and is nigh on perfect, everything like that. But and then just again, like I said, the actual dialogue, what's said between characters is pretty bad. I have to say the acting, okay, I guess for the most part, just pretty much just very much your sort of typical what you'd expect from this type of thing. Nothing outstanding, but nothing terribly bad either. I think it's just obviously going to appeal to a certain audience. It's kind of dumb. I mean, you've got this. Obviously, I've mentioned it kind of focuses on this sort of female werewolf. She's very much dolled up, for example. When she transforms back to a human from a werewolf, she's all her hair is perfectly kind of styled and her makeup's all back on and stuff like that, and so it's very much cheesy and kind of dumb, and you're just not really, if you're not kind of looking at it expecting it to be a kind of more of a horror based thing. But I think it obviously has its audience. It has this kind of this Vampire Diaries thing, which pretty much is the vampire equivalent, I would say. So if you're into that that kind of TV show, I think you'll get a kick of it. I'll pretty much give this a 5 out of 10. I think it's very middling, I have to say, for a TV pilot. Not bad. I've seen worse. It's not a show made for me necessarily. I can understand why it gets its audience, or would get its audience. So 5 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.